Hi everyone and welcome to the Desteni I Process live Google Hangout. We do Hangouts here from the Desteni I Process every Thursday, and at the moment we're busy walking a really awesome series on practical self-empowerment. So every week we invite a guest to come and share a specific process that they have walked or that they are still walking in relation to a certain point. It could be addiction, it could be depression, something that they have experienced and struggled with in their life, but that they have now walked a process, that they're standing up from it, and they come and share practical ways that you can also empower yourselves if you're facing similar issues. So last week we had a really awesome hangout with Hilda on anger, and I definitely suggest to go and check that out. You can see on the YouTube version of this live recording, you can always see in all of these recordings, you can see a link to the hangouts from the previous Thursdays that we've done. In today's hangout, we'll be talking with Tormel from Norway. Hi, Tormel.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, welcome to the hangout. I'm really glad to have you here with us today.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. And this specific hangout that we're doing today, it goes out to everyone who has experienced any form of mental illness or a mental breakdown, whether you have in the past been diagnosed with a specific mental illness, or whether you have in the recent years or months suddenly experienced a mental breakdown, for example, having to go to psychiatric treatment, or whether you're someone that experiences yourself having a mental illness but haven't maybe even gone to a doctor and have gotten a diagnosis. So we are here to, or specifically Tormel is here to talk about his process, being, you could say, a mental patient. Maybe Tormel, you can share like what terms you use when you talk about, you know, this the mental illness aspect of your process. But basically we're going to be looking at how you can practically support and empower yourself if you are in such a position that you have a diagnosis or experiencing yourself with a mental illness. And in all these hangouts, we encourage you to participate and really, you know, support each other to make the hangout interactive. So if you're watching this on Google+, you can log in with your Google+ account and you can participate in the discussion, and you can even ask Tormel questions if there's anything during the hangout that comes up that you want to ask him or you want to ask me, or if you want to share your own perspective or insight on mental illness and self-empowerment in relation to mental illness. If you're watching this on the recorded version, meaning where it's not live anymore, you can place your comment or your question on the YouTube video comment page, and we will make sure to bring your question to Tormel. So we'll be talking for about 40 minutes, and without further ado, let's get into it. So Tormel, do you want to share a little bit about the process that you walked in your life in relation to mental illness, to give some context for everyone watching to know what we're talking about?
Yes, that would be a pleasure. I was living really with lots of, what shall I say, mental disturbances, mental difficulties, being voices in the head, depression, anxiety, nervousness, panic, anger, reactions, all sorts of thought, bullshit, and all sorts of personalities making my life into hell. And I was living really low down on the social structure of society, you could call it, or I was living with really lots of abuse. And so I realized that in the winter of 2011 and 2012, I realized that I had to pull myself out from that gutter real big time. And I realized that I had to really get my process going, and that being in that position that I have to, well, if I make it an option that to choose either between process or psychiatry, that is a place I don't want to be in, a position that I don't want to be in, because I want there to be both ability to have medical help, medical treatment, doctors, nurses, and so forth, professionals, and also to have the process, which can be both can be adjusted, and open, honesty, sharing can be supportive for both. Can be turn into a oneness perspective.
So let me ask you, if we go back a step, you were diagnosed with schizophrenia. When was this?
This was back in 2002, where the doctor said that I had had schizophrenia since I was 14.
Okay.
Well, 2002, I was 24 years old, and so from that point in time, when I was 22 in 2002, 24 in 2002, I started really to go, experimenting with drugs, drinking lots, having lots of addictions, energy addictions, and really just ruining and sabotaging my life, and being in opposition to the psychiatry, to the health system. I was really mad about it. I didn't like it at all. I didn't accept it at all. I was mad because I was, yeah.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to ask. So the doctor said that you had it like for 10 years, but it hadn't been treated.
That is true, because for my telling and open sharing with the doctor, he could understand that I was suffering already from the age of 14 years old and hearing voices. Actually, from the age of 14 years old, I believe today, when I walked the process and it's really seen, I walked some process and really seen how the depth of the pillars, the components within me that have created this friction, this personality disorder within me, voices. I can see that it goes even further back into my very birth and childhood, conceiving, and so that is a side to take with oneself in one's life and experience, to know that could be and to see that I might need that drug, and do not go into self-judgment and self-blame because.
But just wait a second. I want to talk about that, but let's talk about. I just want to know about the first period, and this is specifically also because there might be people who are in that, who are in that first phase, or for example, getting a diagnosis, where you have already walked like this very long process. So just to if we can slow it down and take it like step by step. So just if you want to hold on to that thought, but then I just want to ask you, because you were saying that you got the diagnosis and then you got really angry about it. Yes. So what from what I've understood, I don't know if it's specifically for schizophrenia or if it's with other diagnoses as well, but it's very common that people deny. They get the diagnosis and then they deny it, and they say, no, that's not true. Is that something that did you struggle with it when you got that from the doctor? Yes, because facing that actuality that I needed to have some substance pumped into me of a medication or a drug, that knowledge, the doctor says, well, you can have this will help you live. That awareness is really punch in the gutter to self-trust, to self-dignity feeling is like blown totally out of you, because you think that I have to have something chemical, something substanized to survive. That is just like your survival mode or type of skills or whatever thoughts of you're just like totally flat out punctured because you realize that I have to have something chemical, something that is sort of unnatural to help out of it. And that is really a bugger. Yeah. So was it more like you felt that it was unnatural, or was it also like, didn't you believe them, that they're wrong, or did you understand that, okay, yes, there is something going on and I need help? Well, at that time, in my early period, being diagnosed in 2002 and so forth, I was in opposition to the system. I did not want to participate with it. I was doing all sorts of substance abuse, and I was opposing it. And that made my life much worse, because first of all, I was not accepting, I was not cooperating,
I was not cooperating with the doctor and the healthcare professionals as I should have been. I would be deceptive and do drugs and etc. So I really, yeah, go on.
So is that an issue that you, from your experience, can be like common? Like, for example, that people get some form of like an antipsychotic, for example, but then if they go and drink or do drugs, it kind of makes the whole thing worse. Is that what you mean?
That's what I mean, and that starting point of opposing the system's solution for me with drugs, with therapy, with talking, with commitments to hospital and to different sorts of therapy. One can debate that the therapy provided is not good enough, and the talks with doctors are not sufficient. That is, they can get a long way with that, but you have to get over that point of judging the system and eventually judging yourself, because you are a part and have been living as a part of the system, and you have to realize that you have to like be a part of that, be part in that, and empower yourself from that point, and from there on, you have to accept sort of the. I've heard some people talk lately about I would never be healthy again. The hospital can try to cure me as much as they possibly want to, or think that they can heal all differences, but I would not be healed. This lady said at Heart to I would not be healed ever. So that is also there's lots of different perspectives within this, and lots of different people who are working within this field. Either it's autism, or it's drugs, or it's families or children, etc. But the main big header is cooperation, and to slow it down and to cooperate with what is best for all, what is the solution that is provided, to find solutions, and to not be depressed by taking the medication. That is a very easily turn to take, to become depressed from taking medication.
I could imagine that. And also, like, if I was to put myself in your shoes, or in the shoes of someone, and I'm standing with a doctor and they're saying to me, if you're gonna get better or have a normal life, you have to take this antipsychotic medication, for example. And then with a lot of us, we have an awareness of the psychiatric system not being the most supportive, or not even being what it's supposed to be. We know that it could be so much better, and that we have all this awareness about how even normal family doctors, they will just like prescribe pills instead of helping the person. So how did you come over that? Do you understand kind of where I'm getting at? Like on one hand, we do understand that this isn't optimal, and in a perfect world it shouldn't have to be this way, but then at the same time sort of come to peace with it and realize that and obviously neither Tormod or myself is saying that everyone should take medication. We're talking about very specific cases. Maybe we could also get into this a little bit. So it's not like we're here proponing medication in general, but we're saying that, or if I'm speaking with you, Tormod, we're saying that it can be, in some situations, it can actually be the most supportive thing you can do. And this is, well, maybe you should talk more about this. Why it is that like, or the conclusion you came to that it is supportive for you to take this medication despite what you know about the psychiatric system.
Yeah, it took me quite a while to figure out that, not to put it that way, because I was very much giving into depression and reactions over taking medications, and what changed me was this meeting in 2011, 2012. That winter, I had a meeting in the low-risk hospital in the nearby community where I live, and we were called into a meeting. My mother, my father, and me were called into an open dialogue meeting, and that is some of the new approach here. The open dialogue include other members of the relations of families most often. That is some of the more new open dialogue approach. And that meeting, where me and my mother, and I think we were 2 nurses and at least 1 doctor, we were a team in a circle, sitting in a circle. Just things like that, they make an immense impact on when you're suffering.
Yeah. Do you mean like that they respect you, or that that they're not these authorities looking down on you?
Yes, and to have another point of view into the discussion, so it's not always painted black, but it's it's almost like there's some new different angles to it and different approaches to it, and we are like a team, like we are together on it all, and not like left out there alone reacting, sort of. So that meeting in 2011, 2012, I think it was, in winter, that changed me. That was a changer for me, and later I realized I had to quit and stop my addictions, and I started running to run off my substance abuse, and really jogging and working out has been a key factor, and it really is. You can look at the recovery today. It's very much influenced by people who have been drug addicts, professional, hardcore drug addicts, and they have very much the leading say within the recovery process, because they've done their process and their investigation of ending their drugs so thoroughly and so earnest process.
So when you kind of came or started coming to terms with the fact that it was supportive for you to take medication, like, can you kind of walk us through what it was that you realized, or like, when you realized, because I know that you are very aware, you've investigated a lot about the psychiatric system, so it's not like you just blindly accept it, right? But you have kind of like empowered yourself within that point of saying, okay, I'm going to do this to support myself.
Yes, and I realized that from talking to doctor and from talking to also my DIP buddies and DIP moderators, telling me that, hey, snap up, you might need this bridging for also very while, and you might need this bridging to live a better, more honest life. And realizing that, I would start to cooperate much more and to have consistency. It's important also with the same doctor, the same local nurse talking to over time. It's the same person, so I don't have to open myself up for a new person all the time. And yeah.
No, sorry, go ahead.
And also together with that one, and instead of taking several drugs and drugs and alcohol, I have one drug that I take, and not thousands of other things influencing me. And also with the physical workout, it's very important. Like I walk to the park each day, or gym, or swim, or bike. Very important. I cannot. That is from my very needed medication that I need every day.
So then you started the Desteni I Process, the course, but also walking the process with Desteni. Did you at some point have this thought that, oh great, now I don't have to take medication because now I found process and I can simply do that? Like, can you share a little bit about that? How you looked at that point?
Yes, because I would find myself thinking that self-forgiveness will solve my everything, and from living this life with self-forgiveness, I'll be this monk or whatever person, transcending or ascending or whatever, and not needing to bother with my old self or my past or with the system or the world in general at all. Sort of just removing myself from it. Yes, that was a part of me. But then I realized that, hey, that is just separation. I need to bring that back to myself again, and to forgive it, embrace it, forgive it, and to live with it, and be honest about it, and to work on myself, and to not judge myself if I still take drugs in another 5 or 10 or 20 or whatever years. I mean, I might. There's a lot of talking about there on Facebook, all sorts, but the drugs will kill you, drugs are dangerous, don't take drugs. Look at this South Carolina shooting 9 people in church. He was taking drugs, and people are going all totally into paranoia and fear out of seeking a doctor or seeking healthcare personnel or even talking about mental health at all. It's still a taboo because of such stories that have been labeled as this or that or this or that or pharmaceutica. And that is very much a bugger within what we work, because very many of us, also activists and professionals working within the healthcare system, have to take a drug from time to time.
And when you say drug, you mean like an antipsychotic? I mean, you don't
prescriptive.
mean like prescriptive. Okay, cool. Yeah.
So that is definitely and you could say that from walking my process, I see clearer every day, that all the time, and I'm empowering myself with thinking that I am on this track or this path now, that I can live more honest, and I can have one thing. I can have one thing within my mind being a relationship that I focus on, instead of having 50 things, personalities or whatever desires or things that I have to work on. And I have to have one or two things that I work on, and not like a chaos of things like it was before, like people are living today in this world. Out of pre-program, and realizing that I can, from working, and if I work thoroughly thoroughly on one point, let's say I investigate competing comparison, for instance. If I work thoroughly and good on investigating and forgiving competing comparison, that will affect another component and make sort of a ripple effect, sort of. And help me to see clearer and to breathe much clearer if I can forgive all that and to lay it behind, like a mind construct. That I'm on my second mind construct now, and really enjoying myself with DIP. Let that be said. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So cool. So based on your experience, like, what would you say is the difference between the way that your mind is wired and the way that most people's minds are wired? Like, what is it that, like, if you can just like explain it to people that may not understand, how it can be different, how mind can be wired differently and may need different support.
I mean, these days I'm trying to find out how my mind moves according to what situation I'm in. I mean, I'm investigating, if I'm on the phone, how does my mind react? If I am sitting typing, if I'm walking, if I'm doing swimming, how does my mind react? How does my mind move? That is something I'm working on these days, this minute. But my mind is wired such a way that there is almost always some personality within me that wants to be that being, the top being, sort of, to be me. There's always somebody trying to be. So
that's a cool way to describe it. And so with most other people, they have like one main personality.
Yes. And I don't know how many I have. I haven't counted. Well, back in the days when I was doing drug and like investigating myself and doing drugs, I would think that there was one time 14 personalities, but that's just not a number. So, but there have been quite a few, and it's possible to live life with a lot of personalities. It's not something that should be hidden away, but also that point of realizing that personalities have a specific design, a polarity design, realizing that desire has a particular design, realizing that competing comparison has a particular design.
Yeah.
That awareness is also very helpful for me. I can see there comes, there is, so is, there be. And if I'm in those situations of reacting, focus on solution, breathing, stabilize myself, and but to know how they look like, sort of, and to maybe to smell them out before they appear in front of me, sort of. Yeah.
Right. So you're basically, you could say, organizing your mind, or you're starting to, map it so that you can see it.
Yeah.
So if you hadn't then taken the medication, it might have been more difficult for you, because you, like you said, you would have to deal with 50 personalities at one, or 14, where now you can focus.
Yes, and And that is what they say, that schizophrenia is like an ongoing psychosis, because if there is no other personality and they're guiding me, then what am I? You know, and if I from out of a normal perspective, out of a school book or a psychology perspective, I would be psychotic all the time if I hadn't had one personality directing myself all the time. So that is something for me to work on, how I can challenge myself to be that person without those designed from past hardness personalities that really just want to compete each other within my programming of being like the supreme being or being in charge, sort of. And that is something that really have gotten a lot of strength for me, but I'm still working on it. I'm not fighting it. That is one to keep. Don't judge self from finding out that you have 5 personalities that are struggling amongst each other. It really is a golden opportunity to make time into something that is supportive and to work on self. Sit down, write on pen and pencil. I have this personality. Investigate self-honesty and find out as much as you can about each of them and forgive it.
Yeah, I would also say that, you know, the thing is that the rest of us also have all those personalities. It's just that for whatever reason, the way that our minds are wired, or the way that most people's minds are wired, is that it's relatively organized. But underneath, in the like the bottom line, everyone is the same. You know, it's the same chaos. It's the same amount of information. It's just that you could say the surface for a schizophrenic person is different, but underneath everything, you know, the way that you write your self-forgiveness, and it's no different from the way that I do it, for example. So it's more a matter of having access or being able to maybe organize it, like we were saying before. My father, for example, I think I've told you, he suffered from severe bipolar disease, real bipolar, because I know that it's something a lot of people are saying these days, but at least back then, the way that it was diagnosed is like when you're manic depressive. And what I've seen in investigating that is that it's kind of the same as with schizophrenia. It's like everyone has the dual polarity of the extreme positive and the extreme negative, right? The extreme depression and the extreme excitement. But for someone who is bipolar, all of that is on the surface. You know, they can't tune it out, they can't lower it. It's just either the one or the other. And if you do have such an experience, or like with Tormod, you know, like you're saying, I think it's really cool that you're saying, Tormod, to not judge it or be angry with yourself, but actually see it as an opportunity to get to understand your mind. And it can even be very supportive for others, for, you know, because you as a schizophrenic can really become an expert on personalities, you know, because that is something that you know a lot about from your own personal experience.
Yes, definitely. And I mean, I would struggle immensely, and or what should I say? I would struggle to not judge myself. I would struggle that I should judge myself because of any thought or backshot or whatever I find out a system that I participate with this or that system, or I do this or that, and to stop self-judging. It can really be a challenge, but it's all about having something to fill your time with that is. And to have a schedule, sort of. I mean, if you have a schedule, you're much more safe, because if you suddenly realize that, oh, I don't know what to do now for like the rest of the day or the rest of the week, you are like victimizing yourself. You're victimizing yourself, and to have a schedule that then I'm gonna wash the floor, then I'm gonna make myself dinner, then I'm gonna go to the gym, then I'm gonna watch a movie. If you have a structure on your time schedule, which many people fear because they fear that the system has got me then or something like that. That's just bullshit. But to have a schedule and to fill days with something commonsensical to do, whatever it is, painting or writing or football, whatever it is, fill days with something fun and cool, or writing and sharing vlogs. That is to avoid self-judgment to a very far degree, for me anyways, yeah.
So would you say that it's also a point of, like, you could say, like, almost like keeping it very simple and basic, and not try and because that's what I could imagine as well, is that, you know, you may try and go beyond what you're physically, mentally capable of. Like, you know, why can't I just be a career man? Or maybe even like something as, you know, most people would see as quite normal, like, you know, go traveling, for example. But if you do have a mental illness, you're more sensitive to impressions. So you do have to, like we talked about a little bit before the hangout, Tomal and I, how that is something that comes first in your life. You know, you always have to take care of your mental health, which is something that in a way it goes out for all of us, but even more so when you do have a distinct mental illness. So what do you want to say about this point?
Well, I want to say that, like we realize with working with, for instance, living income guarantee, to see that the trouble is the money, sort of. Nailed down there, the trouble is the money and the sharing of money. So the solution must be money and the sharing of money with living income guarantee and so forth. So the trouble is that I have too many personalities, so that they fight among themselves, then I must turn that coin over and make that into supportive for myself. And because so within, so without, I mean, anything that I carry within myself can be turned into something cool and supportive, and then there's nothing that I can't forgive. So
did you lose your train of thought?
Yeah, sort of. Because
no, it's fine.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Thanks. Yeah.
No, it's fine. Well, let me see if I can remember what I was asking. No, I forgot as well.
It's okay. I can go on.
Yeah, we can go on.
It's about realizing that what I find bothering about myself, like I sleep too long, or if I feel bothered that I've been living with hearing voices, and I can be reminded in a brief instant of a second that I heard those specific voices, those specific back shots. I heard them like a year ago or last week, and I remind myself and sort of hearing the echoing again, sort of. And realizing that I don't want to pull up all my emotional past and forgive them again, but really to slow down. If you're suffering from mental illness, be aware of that. Be aware that I suffer from mental illness, and I carry this button to prove it, or something like that, because that is something I empowered within myself. I was contacted by my good old friend from the We Shall Overcome organization some 3 or 4 years ago, and from there on, I'm now the regional leader within the We Shall Overcome regional addressing or localization of that organization here where I live. And I'm leader of that organization here, and that would be unthinkable for me from about 6 or 7 or 8, 9 years ago. That would be unthinkable, because I was living with not realizing my opportunities, with not doing what is best for all, so with taking part in that, realizing that I have handicaps I need to work on, and to pick from that, sort of go at that sort of construct.
Like you have to live with it. You can't just push it away.
But
you actually answered my question from before, which was like, how do you keep it simple? Like, how do you, like that point of how you have to always take care of this point first, but it doesn't have to be an obstacle in your life. And this is kind of related to, we have a question from Joanna.
Yeah.
Hi, Joanna. And she's asking, hi, Tormel, thanks for sharing your process. What is the one thing that you're grateful for about schizophrenia, or at least that you've walked in your process through schizophrenia that have also assisted others around you? So this is a really cool question. I actually think you answered this in another hangout, because I remember we had this question up before, but it would be cool to also bring in here in the context of self-empowerment, you know, like you were saying, that it doesn't have to be a taboo, and you're sharing this process openly, and we should be able to talk openly about mental illness and it not being this like dangerous thing we don't talk about. So do you want to share any like gifts, or how you've turned a weakness in yourself into a strength in your life?
Yes, you could say a point that Yuran reminded me of in our talks is how I'm able to see the depth of my unconscious or subconscious or my ordinary mind. I'm able to see more through it, but also I stand at risk also at the same time to be like sucked into it too much. And therefore so that is one side of it. The other side is ability to find myself honesty. I have a more honest approach than when I see myself acting amongst family or older or friends or relations that are not walking process, so to speak. I would say that I could be more honest because I walked both the highs and the lows, sort of being a human being, of being suffering from mental illness. And it's really interesting to see these days. I mean, because today almost like everybody walking process, but that's not a chapter. But yeah, but strength, yeah. Very sensitive. I'm very sensitive. I'm still very sensitive, and that's something that I have to work on for my future, about being easily taking. What shall I say? I can be sensitive, and I can see things like little like, what shall I say? I'm very sensitive. So there's a lot of what is act of compassion by Bernard there. I get sucked into a lot of that many times, and end up thinking that, okay, but I'm here. I have to act for myself. So within schizophrenia, there's learning about the illness of schizophrenia holds almost all the qualities of it, and also then to be able to empathize with other people suffering from various traumas or disorders, and to be able to listen to them and have them sharing, and to try to have them not judging themselves. Hello? Anna, did you leave? Well, I guess I can just continue if Anna's saying my network is having trouble. I don't know. Can you, Joanna, please correct me if I'm on or not? If I'm on, could somebody give me a note and the question answer? Join the video call. Here we go. Thank you.
Hey, Tomo.
There we are again. Hello.
Hi. I lost my internet connection. How's it going?
Well, it's going very on and off. Are you there still? Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
So,
cool.
Within realizing my what I need to sort of figure out myself, to become a PhD in myself, as we say in Desteni I Process, and also from there on to realize, okay, I'm learning myself, and I need to learn about myself. What else can I do? And there lies like hobbies, training, very important to work body because when I sit at a computer, I'm tired in this area. When my chest, my head gets tired from sitting computing, my legs and arms are not equally tired, and that could cause possession, psychosis. So we need to work out. Daily working is profound and must be investigated. A lot of suffering can be avoided, and I think. And yes, but also, Joanna, to investigate learn myself what is my schizophrenia, how does the psychosis work, and to learn all about myself as this diagnosis, and to be able to stand within it all. That would be something that I would say was empowering about specifically the word or the name psychosis, schizophrenia. Yeah. Are you there, Anna? Yes, all good.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So I think it would be fitting to finish the hangout here, also where I'm having connection difficulties. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your process. And if anyone has any questions, can they contact you on Facebook?
Sure, no problem. Ask ahead. Okay,
cool. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening and being with us today. We will be back next Thursday. And Tormel, have a nice evening, and thanks for being here. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
So I'm having trouble closing this. Let's see.
Is it off now? Yeah, I guess so.